Not that was this.
हे दुख भंजन मारुति नंदन सुन लो मेरी पुकार पवन सुत बिनती बारंबार पवन सुत बिनती अष्ट सिद्धि अष्ट
Or is this a different crowd? I wonder. What you all think? Is this a different crowd from last time? You all are a little bit more feisty. I think we have some different ones in the mix tonight, right? Many of them are still on the way, so nevertheless they'll be here shortly. I've just chanted the name of Hanumanji there to help to create that energy, create that vibration. We glorify the name from Shram to create the atmosphere that is required for us to enter into tonight's devotion. First of all, let me say a special Sitaram to my brother Pandit Dev, Pandit Avinash Maharaj, and say thank you, Bhai, for coming and performing wonderful puja for us here this evening to create that atmosphere for us to enter in. You know, when we come here, I feel that energy already established, which is very, very important. With that being said, tonight we're going to continue our devotions to the lotus-like feet of that Divine Mother. Tonight we're going to hear about now Durga. We're going to hear about 9 forms of the Devi that you worship through the period of Navratri. Because many a times you will hear about Durga Devi, Lakshmi Devi, Saraswati Mata. They say that you worship these 3 forms of the Devi, 3 nights, 3 nights, 3 nights, not so? But in reality, there are 9 forms of the Devi that are worshipped through this period of Navaratri. Right? From the first day until the last day. Coming on the road, I was having a little discussion with my mom and the rest of the people in the car, these bhaktas, right? And I was explaining something that's very, very important for us to understand. So today, I saw everybody sending out Ashtami greetings. There are more people sending me Ashtami greetings today. Well, I can't go to tell everybody and I can't go to correct everybody. The thing about it is that Ashtami already finished. We are in Navami. Today is the last night of Navratri. It's not the 8th. It's the last. Now I want to explain something to you. Yes, tomorrow is Ram Navami. But in Navami finishes daylight. So the way that it works, let me break it down for you so you'll understand, right? Normally we think when you are celebrating something that it starts 12 midnight. That's how we normally think. For example, I was born 9:46 a.m., right? So if I'm born 9:46 a.m., did I exist before? No. Right? I only came out at 9:46 a.m. So when does my birthday start? 12 a.m. or 9:46 a.m.? You understand where I'm coming from? It starts at 9:46 a.m. Similarly, when checking the Pachara and calculating the dates for these events, what happens is that sometimes it starts in one day and it finishes the next day. For example, the Navami will finish tomorrow. This check to the Navratri that we are in will finish tomorrow at 3 p.m. So tomorrow is not the night of Navratri. You understand? So basically, the night that falls within the period of the Navami is tonight. You understand? But I placed this yagna very strategically when we did it so that we will fall into the Ram Navami celebration as well. So that is why we designed it, how we designed it, right? So we get the most powerful aspect of everything there. You know, the Ashtami into the Navami and we get the Ram Navami as well, right? So it's very, very powerful. So I just want you to understand that, right? So that's just a little general knowledge, a little general information that you should have in your life. Now, today in Puja, I was explaining something else that is very important that I want to share with you. I just share what comes to mind. I know it will be of value and benefit to you. And that is, you see these periods that we have, like the Navaratri, and we have Hanuman Jayanti, and Ram Navami, and all of these various festivals, Shivaratri and all of that, right? All of these festivals are special for very important reasons. It is said during these periods, the energies in the atmosphere are very, very predominant. They are very, very strong. So take this into consideration. Whereas you would have a puja, or you will do some sort of offering during a regular period, a regular day, you will get benefit, you will get value, yes? But when you do it during this period, the effects of it is multiplied tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Now that is something very, very powerful, right? I want you to think about it. I say, Baba, God, Jai, but I only pray during this period now. Right? That is how it's designed. That's why we call it auspicious periods. So I want you to get something clear. There are no bad periods. Don't let people confuse you, right? There are no bad periods. There are good periods and there are better periods. Right? That which is not called as auspicious does not necessarily mean inauspicious, but automatically, because of duality, they say, because it's not auspicious, they say that it is inauspicious automatically. And that happened because of tradition. You understand where I'm coming from? So every day is good to pray. There's no day that is not good for you to offer prayer, right? Every day is good to pray. But during these special periods of the Navaratri and all of these other festivals that I told you about, there are certain celestial events that are transpiring in the universe, in the multiverse, scientifically, that is sending an energy, that is sending a vibration out to the universe, which you and I are tapping into. So during these periods, you want to make sure you do your little devotion, if it's home, whatever the case may be, come to the mandir and the yagna, and tap into this. Because you want your life to transform, you want to live a better life. This is where it starts. Because, for example, if you didn't come today, you wouldn't get that 2 pieces of golden information that I just gave you today. Correct? Make sense? So that's why we go to the mandir. Right? Yes, I know that we have the little bhojan and prasadam and thing, and that is a little bonus. Yes, it's a little bonus, right? But at the same time, the real prasadam comes in the form of knowledge. The real prasadam is the one that will help you to uplift yourself and take yourself to the next level. This morning, well, today was a very long day by the way, right? You'll ask me just now, you'll be like, well, Baba, how many things it had in this day? When you're recounting, I'm recounting all my experiences. At the funeral this morning, I told him, I said, everybody asks this question. They ask, what is going to happen when I die? Last time I mentioned that most of them that were here. When last did you ask, what do I do while I live? We are always focusing on when we die and what is going to come after and all of these wonderful things, and what is in my future? What is in my past? We are always dwelling on all of those things. But when last have you dwelled on the present moment? When last have you taken the time to be present in the moment? The moment is happening and just going, and we are just not even focusing on the moment. It is just leaving us and going. So I want the goal for us is to become more aware, to become more conscious, to become more focused. Tonight you're going to receive some information. It might be a little bit a lot because it's 9 forms of the Devi, but I'm going to try to condense it as best as possible to give you the information so you understand the 9 Devis that we worship and what they represent. Because these 9 Devis, they are the same one Durga Devi that you worship. Whether you call her Durga Devi or Lakshmi Mata or Kali Devi or Saraswati Mata, right? Katyayani, you'll hear, Shailaputri, whatever name you call her by. The reality is that it is the same one Devi taking different manifestations. It is the same primordial energy coming into manifestation in various forms. Right? Bolo Shri Adi Shakti Jagannama Mata Ki Jai. So, at this point in time, we will join the opening Aarti. I ask each and every one of you, please, Khada ho jaiye. Stand.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ओम ज्ञानकानि च पापानि जन्मान्तरकृतानि च तानि विनश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं परे परे निपन्दृश्यामि सहजं च प्रतिसनं तमहिना योजनं मया विपं गृहादेवस्य त्रैलोक्यं जगन्नाथं निपन्दृश्यामि जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय श्यामा गौरी मैया Shivaji मांग सिंदूर विराजत दीपो विघ्नत को उज्ज्वल सिंधु नैना चंद्र बदननी को मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय श्यामा गौरी गो कनक समान कलेवर रक्तांबर राजे कनक समान कलेवर रक्तांबर राजे रक्त पुष्प गलमाला कंगन हर साजे मैया You all gonna you can lift your hands and clap, right? Don't be afraid. Create that melodious vibration pulsating within your palms. Allow that energy of that divine Devi to enter into your heart, into your mind, into your life. नागर कुंडल शोभित नासागे मोती नागर कुंडल शोभित नासागे मोती कोटि के चंद्र दिवाकर समराजत ज्योति मैया जय अम्बे गौरी शुंभनि शुंभनि रारे महिषासुर गते शुंभनि शुंभनि रारे महिषासुर गते धूम्र विलोचन नैना निश दिन मदमाते मैया ब्रह्माणी रुद्राणी तुम कमला रानी ब्रह्माणी रुद्राणी तुम कमला रानी आगम गम बहानी तुम शिव पटरानी मैया चौसठ योगिनी गावत नृत्य करत भैरो चौसठ योगिनी गावत नृत्य करत भैरो बाजत दामे दंगा और बाजत डमरू मैया जय अम्बे गौरी मैया तुम हो जग की माता तुम ही हो भरता तुम हो जग की माता तुम ही हो भरता भक्तन की दुख हरता सुख संपत्ति करता मैया अगरक पुरवाती कंचन ताल मृदंग अगरक पुरवाती मालिक तू मेरा जत कोटि रतन जोगी मैया जय अम्बे जय अम्बे गौरी मैया जय श्यामा गौरी With faith, with love and devotion, we lift our voices. Lord Shri Shakti Jagannath Mata ki Nare. आराम से बैठिए, sit most comfortably. At this point in time, devotees, just a minute I ask you all to sit upright. Clasp your hands, close your eyes, and let's bow heads in prayer for a minute. Let's sit in dhyana, contemplation, meditation. As we seek the divine grace and blessings of Bhagavan into our lives, as tonight we are about to enter into these holy verses, we seek that grace and blessings of that all-merciful Lord in the form of that divine Mother, Adi Shakti Jagannath Mata. As we pray, O Ma, we ask you to bless us. Bless our families, bless our mandir, bless our homes, bless our village, bless our country, and bless all our lives. Tonight as we will enter into listen to beautiful katha, we pray that that divine knowledge may enter into our lives, into our minds, into our hearts. Help us to move to new levels of awareness, to reach closer and closer to our goal of self-realization. Om जयंती मंगला काली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवा धात्री स्वाहा स्वधा नमोस्तुते ओम सर्वमंगल मंगले शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्यत्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते ओम जय त्वं देवी चामुंडे जय भूतापहारिणी जय सर्वगति देवी कालरात्रि नमोस्तुते मधुकैत पवित्र द्रव्य विदात्र वरदे नमः रूपम देहि जन्हि यशो देहि दशो देहि न तातो न माता न बंधुर न दाता न पुत्र न पुत्री न विद्यो न भर्ता न जाय न विद्या न वृत्तर्ममेव गतिस्त्वं त्वमेकं भवानी या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः ॐ प्रथमशैलपुत्री च द्वितीयं ब्रह्मचारिणी तृतीयं चन्द्रगन्धेति कुष्मण्डेति चतुष्टकं पंचमं स्कन्दमातेति षष्ठमं कात्यायन च सप्तमं कालरात्रिति महागौरीति च अष्टमं नवम सिद्धिदात्री च नवदुर्गा प्राकृति ताः ॐ नमः शिवाय. We surrender ourselves to the lotus-like feet of Bhagavan in form of Bhagavan Shiva as we chant. Om Namah Shivaya. We surrender ourselves before Bhagavan in form of Lord Shiva, that one himself who contains the divine Shakti, the divine energy as part of it. They are one and the same. He helps to bring to a balance of that energy, the divine Shakti, the divine power. When that energy rises, Bhagavan Shiva sits at the top of the head, where the Sahasrara Chakra resides, bringing calmness, tranquility, peace and focus. In this life, it is very, very important for us to be focused, dear devotees, in order for us to attain success in this world. We shift our focus to the center of our brows by the Agnya Chakra, that eye of intuition. Om Karacharana Kritam Va Kayajam Timajam Va Shravanena Jamva Manasam Va Paradham Vihidam Vihidam Va Sarvamita Chamasva Jai Jai Karunamde Sri Mahadeva Shambho Jai Jai Karunamde Sri Mahadeva Shambho Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Let's lift our voices in one tone of voice, as I explained last night for the new ones that are here. When we say Jai loudly because Jai means. Say it, let me hear it. Say it loudly. Jai means very good, children. Jai means victory. You see, they're not coming under for style now. Don't let them beat you back. You have to be equipped. They are well equipped and they are learning. Right? They make the time to be here every week after week, right? So you give me a thumbs up. Right? So Jai means victory. When we chant victory, we are chanting victory to the divine. We are chanting victory to God. We are expressing our love to God, who we love so much. But the real question is, do you really love God? That's the question. What do I mean by that? Based on how you express yourself when we speak about God, based on how you express yourself when we chant the name of God, that says a lot about your relationship with God, about your connection with God, about what God means to you. Right? So when we chant, when we glorify the name of God, when we sing, I want you all to clap, I want you all to not be afraid, to express your love to that divine. Because today is a time that is granted to you that you do not know when it will come back. That divine has given you an opportunity. In Ramayana it said, Binu satasanga viveka na hoi, Ram kripa binu sulabha na soi. That without satsang, without this right association, the association, sat meaning truth and sang meaning the company or association, associating yourself in an environment where the ultimate truth is spoken of, which is God, where you meet saints and all of these different things. Without going into that environment, you will not get any vivek. Vivek means wisdom. So if you want wisdom in your life, you have to be present in satsang. But Ram Kripa Binu Sulabha Soi. Without the grace and the mercy of that all merciful Lord, you will never be able to be present in the satsang in the first place. Many are called, but few are. Say that, are they chosen?
Many are called, but few are chosen. It is said when you go to a jewelry store, right? You'll see many silver jewelry being sold, many gold jewelry being sold every day. But it is ever so often that a rare diamond will be sold. I want to tell you all something tonight that I want you to understand is that you are like that diamond that is carved and shaped and molded by that divine Lord Himself. Realize it, understand it, embrace it, appreciate it. Right? Yes, I know sometimes we have long days in life. I know sometimes we are busy. I'm very busy from morning to night. I don't know what sleep is. I now say that I sleep when I need sleep. Apart from that, I don't sleep. Right? Because in serving Bhagwan, where you want sleep? I was telling somebody the other day. They asked, when do you get time to sleep? I say, when I feel like I need it. I was like, I am not going to spend 1/3 of my life. Do you know you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping? Minimum, the average person. You have 24 hours in a day and you sleep for 8 hours. How much is that? Kya baat hai? Have you ever thought about that? That is 1/3 of your day. So 1/3 of our lives, most of us spend sleeping. And when you waken, the majority of it is spent eating. If you're like me. Right? I want you to think about this, take this into consideration. See where your priority lies. Right? 1/3 of our lives is going in sleep, in a tamasic state. Sleep is a tamasic state. You're lying, you're dormant. It's a tamasic state of existing. Right? The goal is to reach as sattvic as possible. But you can be a little rajasic as well. You'll hear more about that as we go along. Don't get caught up and worried about the terminology, right? You'll hear more about that as we go into Katha. But I just want you to understand. Don't let your life go by and you waste all this time and you don't make the most of it. Bhagwan has given you a rare, wonderful, wonderful opportunity to come here tonight and join with us to celebrate. We are celebrating Bhagwan. We are celebrating God in the form of that Divine Mother. Celebrate while you are alive and kicking. Celebrate while you have the energy in your body. Celebrate while you have the ability to use the facilities that you're blessed with, your hands and your feet and all of these different things. There's a beautiful bhajan that says, bhajan that I love to bow. He Pavan Parameshwar mere man hi man sharmaun meri chadar odh ke kaise. Hari Om Sharan wrote and he said, Bhagwan, तूने मुझको जग में भेजा निर्मल देकर काया, आकर के संसार में मैंने इसको दाग लगाया. Says Bhagwan, तूने मुझको जग में भेजा. You have sent me upon the face of the earth. निर्मल देकर काया. You have given me a crystal clear, clean, nice, beautiful body. आकर के संसार में मैंने इसको दाग लगाया. Came upon the face of the earth. You know what you did? I take it and I roll all over. Right? I'm speaking in nice Trini dialect so you'll understand. Right? I take it and I roll all over with it. And now I'm dirtied up. And I don't know what to do. Janam janam ki maili chalit kaise daal chudao. Lifetimes upon lifetimes now I am existing and I am spending. How do I remove this state, Bhagwan? My most beautiful verse, the most beautiful verse that I love the most. निर्मल वाणी पाकर तुझसे नाम न तेरा गाया. निर्मल वाणी, Bhagwan, you have given to me a crystal clear voice, a voice that is beautiful, that is sweet, that is soothing. And निर्मल वाणी पाकर तुझसे नाम न तेरा गाया. I never took it and chanted your name. I went to the mandir and Baba said chant and I watched him so with my eye open. And I said, Baba, I can't sing. I look at you, I'm telling you, it's true, right? And it's true in the mandir, don't lie, eh? You're in the mandir, don't lie. It's true. Baba, I can't sing. I don't have a nice voice.
What is a nice voice, devotees? What is a nice voice? When somebody tells me, Baba, you sing real nice. I said, that's not me, that's the Lord, that's the divine energy of the Lord expressing itself through me. That is my heart that is singing, not my voice. There's a difference. When we chant for the Lord, you never sing with your voice, you sing with your heart. If you're singing with your voice, then something is wrong. Not so? Something is definitely wrong if you're singing with your voice. इन पैरों से चलकर तेरे मंदिर कभी ना आया. Bhagwan, you gave me beautiful feet, but I'll never take it and walk and come in mandir. जहाँ जहाँ हो पूजा तेरी कभी न शीश झुकाया. Wherever your puja, your worship is being done, I never took the time to bow in reverence. When you pass, you see a mandir. When you pass and you see the churches and the masjid and places of worship, do you pay respects, dear devotees? Holy places, it is said that is very, very important. You see a holy person, you see a holy place, that you must pay respects. It is very, very important. I don't wait for somebody to pay respects to me, I pay respects first. Because I follow Hanumanji and I duplicate. And he's a fellow that he surrenders and he offers his love first. He doesn't wait for anybody to offer theirs. Right? He offers his love first. He offers his heart first. So tonight you have been granted the most wonderful opportunity to chant the name of the Lord. You have been granted an opportunity to be present here and receive this divine nectar, this divine knowledge. Right? Next time we gotta do 9 nights because I have so much information to cover and sometimes it's like anyway. It's like, how much things do you really see? I'm trying to fit so many things into 3 small nights. But nevertheless, this is the start to many great things. At this point in time, I want to join tonight. Didn't get to do it last night, so we'll do it tonight. We're going to chant the verses of Sri Durga Chalisa. As we glorify the divine name of that divine mother through these powerful verses. Most of you here are accustomed hearing us chanting Hanuman Chalisa, which we do every week on a weekly basis in the mandir right here. Because we are actually going through the verses of understanding Hanuman Chalisa right now. But tonight we're going to join in Durga Chalisa. These verses that contain the nectar of the glory of that divine mother. I want you all to pray with faith, with love and devotion. And when we sing, when we chant, I want you to lift your hands and don't be afraid. I want you to clap. I taught last night to all of them that were present that when you clap, that vibration, that energy in your body scientifically will be pulsating within your palms. It is going to energize your entire being. It is going to start taking you to newer levels of existence without you even realizing it. You are transforming your life and you are transitioning to new levels. You see how a simple thing like clapping can be? And if you clap also, no mosquito won't bite you. So you save yourself, right? But the truth is, the mother air conditioners, you don't worry about it, right? Jai Bhagwan. You see comfort nowadays? Get air conditioner, I think I'm still afraid to come in your mother. I'm just saying, you know how it goes, right? So when we sing, when we chant, when we glorify, I don't want you to be afraid, I want you to offer your love. I want you to lift your hands and clap. And clap like you mean it. Right? You see the little Mirasmi kind of clapping. So yeah, yawning and think, oh Bhagwan, Jai Devi Ma. See that kind of habit? That is tamasic behavior. No, literally, I'm not making up anything, I'm telling you the reality. That's tamasic behavior. Right? Just like when you see your loved ones, you express your love to them. Just like that, understand that that divine mother is with you and she is most near and dear to you. I want you to express yourself how you will express yourself to somebody that is very, very near and dear and very close to you. Om Katyayanaaya Vidmahe Kanyakumari Dhimahi Tanno Durge Prachodayat. Jai 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 Durge Jayati Jai Durgeshwari Devi Jayati Jayati Durgam Dalani Durgaharani Sursevi. Asham Dum Durge Mata Om Shakti Mata. जियो एक चित तुझे भगवान करो कृपा हे मान दयाल नित्य सिद्धि दे करो निहाल जब लगी जियो सदा पल पाओ तुम लो यश में सदा सुनाओ दुर्गा चालीसा जो गाओ सब सुख भोग परम पर पार देवी दास शरण निज जान करो कृपा जगदम्ब भवानी बोलो शारी शक्ति जगदम्बा माता की जय Narayan. That was most beautiful, not so? I thoroughly enjoyed. I hope that you enjoyed that. Devotees. Tonight, as we engage in Katha, as we engage in that understanding of the Divine Mother, like I said, it's so much information that I want to give to you all. But I'll try the best of my ability to condense it, to give you the main aspects and the main parts so that you'll be able to understand. Tonight, we speak about that divine in the form of her 9 main forms that are meant to be worshipped during this Navaratri period. So that will be what we refer to as Navdurga. I'm sure that you all are familiar, I'm sure that you all would have heard before about Navdurga, right? The 9 forms of Devi. Starting firstly with Shailaputri Mata. Let's listen. Jai Devi Mahakali Re, Jai Devi Mahashakti Re. Devi Sarvabhuteshu, Shailaputri Rupena Samsita. Namaste, 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 Namo Namaha. Jai Devi Mahakali Re, Jai Devi Mahashakti Re. Jai Devi Mahashakti Re, Jai Devi Mahashakti Re. Bolo Shari Shakti Jagdamba Mata ki Jai. So Prathama Shaila Putri Cha. The first form of that Divine Mother comes in the form of Shaila Putri Devi. Now, Shaila means mountain and Putri means daughter. So Shaila Putri is that one who is the daughter of the mountain, or in this case the mountain king. So basically Shaila Putri Devi is none other than, anybody knows who's the daughter of the mountain king? We talk about her all the time. When I tell you, you'll know. That is Parvati Devi. So Shaila Putri here is none other than Parvati Devi, the daughter of the mountain king, who is known as Himavan, Himalaya, Himavat. He has various names, right? The king of the Himalayas, basically, right? So she's the daughter of that king. But before becoming the daughter of that king and coming in the form of Parvati Devi, who is also known as Shaila Putri, she was in the form of Sati Devi. Now that in itself is an entire long katha. So again, just very quickly, Sati Devi had a father by the name of Daksh Prajapati. And her father was not too fond of Lord Shiva. Nevertheless, Lord Shiva and that Divine Mother was destined to get married together. So eventually they got married and all of that, but a little confusion took place and Daksh Prajapati felt insulted and
he decided that he's not going to talk to his daughter. He decided he's not going to talk to Lord Shiva. And that's it. Right? And when that happened, eventually he decided to do a yajna. And having this yajna, he made offerings for everyone in that yajna, but he made no offerings for Lord Shiva. That divine mother came there. Right? Even after Lord Shiva told her, do not go there, do not go to a place where someone holds a grudge against you. She went, nevertheless. And going there, she saw that the yajna was taking place and there was no offerings being made for Lord Shiva. On seeing that, that Devi flew into a rage. And what happened? Taking a most powerful form. She then told to everyone that was present there. Devatas, saints and sages, everybody, you name it. Right? She told to all of them that they would reap their due consequence for the actions of either insulting Lord Shiva or bearing the insult of Lord Shiva. So it is said that either speaking an insult or listening to the insult being happening, both cases is not good. The scripture says just run far away. Right? Just run very far away from it. That's all. So nevertheless, taking that powerful form, she said that to those that were present there, and saying that to them, she invoked Agni Shakti, the power of fire, and she burned the physical body that she had given up that physical body. When she gave up that physical body, as a matter of fact, before giving up the body, she asked for a blessing from Lord Vishnu. She said, one, in every successive birth, I want to be, when I am born, I want to become the consort of Lord Shiva. In every successive birth. So anytime I take birth, I want to become his consort. And she got a blessing. So with that being said, she gave up the physical form and she transcended back into her original state. Then eventually Lord Shiva came there and he took the body, the burning body, and he carried it on his shoulders as a matter of fact. And then eventually Lord Vishnu took the Sudarshan Chakra, the spinning wheel, and he cut that body into various pieces. These pieces fell in various parts of India, and those spots where it fell, various things appeared. Right? Spiritual things. It is said in some places there are lingams, there is a fire, there are many different things, right? And they have built temples around them. You can research it. When you get a chance, you can go and you can look into it. They are referred to as Shakti Pitas. Shakti Pitas, right? That's where the parts of the body of the Devi fell. Right? Holy places that people go to for Tira pilgrimage and all of these different things. Nevertheless, when that happened, that body was disintegrated and all of those different things. That Divine Mother transcended Lord Shiva, went back to Kailash Parvat and all of those things. Time passed. And there was a demon by the name of Tarakasura. And that demon, it is said that he had a boon, a vardhan, right? That only the son of Lord Shiva could kill him. He was very smart, and Rakshas were real smart. And this dude tapasya and asked for a hard boon thing. Yeah, real difficult boon thing, right? So you can't really kill them. They're smart too bad. But you see, you can't outsmart God. You can be how smart you want, but you can't outsmart God. So he's thinking, why would he say that? At that point in time, Lord Shiva had no children, right? At that point in time, he was separated from Satya, and he's thinking here now that Lord Shiva is a Vairagi. He practices Vairagya, dispassion, detachment. This individual, he ain't gonna have no children, nothing. So I safe. I ain't gonna worry about nothing. I good to go. So time passed, and that Divine Mother took avatar and came back again now as the daughter of the mountain king, Shailaputri, Parvati Devi. She's also known as Uma, Ambika. Those are names that was given by Narad Muni. Naradji gave her all those names, right? Because he came and he looked at her palms and stuff like that when she was born. He heard of the festivities that was transpiring there. And he came to see what was going on. And the father of Parvati Devi placed her in front of him to read her palms and see what lies in her future and all of these different things. What direction should they take her into. Nevertheless, Lord Vishnu and Brahmaji and all of them, they are trying to get Lord Shiva to understand now as Parvati is growing up. They are trying to get him to understand that she has to become his wife, that she has to become his consort, that is the same Sati Devi that he once loved dearly. She has now come back in form of Parvati. And that he needs to get married to her and have this child in order for that demon to be destroyed. And for no reason whatsoever, Lord Shiva was not being persuaded. Until eventually, she had to perform intense tapasya to be able to receive his blessing, to receive his love. Now, the information I'm giving you is actually split up through the various forms here. Right? So I'll try to give you it based on the form. So let's stick to Shailaputri for a moment here. So, the king Himavan, the mountain king, and his wife Menaka, they performed great tapasya and penance and stuff before they were able to get that divine mother. You picture this. To get that divine mother in her purest state and purest form coming up on the face of the earth in your home. That is indeed a great blessing. It takes a lot of tapasya, nevertheless, right? So, getting this daughter, this Shailaputri Devi, let's talk about some of her attributes and all that. It is said that her vahan, her vehicle, is the bull. That's like Nandi, the Lord Shiva has, right? In her right hand, she holds a Trishul. We're going to break this down and understand what it represents, right? In her right hand, she holds a Trishul, and her left hand, she holds a lotus flower, right? This Trishul, we always talk about a Trishul, we always hear about a Trishul. Lord Shiva has it, you hear the Divine Mother has it, but what does that Trishul really represent? What is the significance and what is the purpose of that Trishul? The Trishul can symbolize many different things. And here's why the tree is so important now. When you hear about the number 3, you'll understand why it is so important. When we do things in puja, sometimes it's either 3 or 5, right? 3 is very, very important. Why? It represents many things. First thing it represents, the Holy Trinity. Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, right? Where creation started. It also represents the 3 divine mothers, the main deities in the form of Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Durga / Kali Mata. It represents the 3 modes of nature, as in creation, sustenance, and destruction. It represents the 3 colors, meaning the 3 forms of time: past, present, and future. It represents the 3 gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas gunas. The state of purity, the state of passion, and the state of a little bit of arrogance and ignorance and all of those things. All of us have all 3 of them inside of us, right? Understand that. None of us has only one. We have all 3. The goal is to find a balance amidst all of them. And we come into that. We'll talk about the balance now, right? So these 3 things, it represents something. We can take it a little bit further, right? It represents something a little bit deeper. And that is the 3 nadis. Now I'm going to break this down for you. Kya baat hai? Right? So Jennifer was just naming them out there. So it represents the 3 nadis. Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, right? The 3 of them. What is a nadi? It is said that, well, nadi means river. It is said that the Sanskrit word nadi literally translates to mean a flowing river. That's what it means, a flowing river. But in this context, it can also be translated to mean a tube, a channel, or flow. Right? Everybody has the nadis within them, so you really want to hear what this means, right? So pay close attention. So, basically, the nadis refer to a network of channels through which energy is able to pass through and flow properly in your body. Right? We have something in our body that is called as the pranamaya kosha, which is the breath or the energy body that we have inside of us, right? And in this energy body, we have actually, in actuality, we have 72,000 nadis. Channels for energy to flow. 72,000 nadis. Listen to that very, very carefully. When we talk about energy, you need to understand how it works, right? Now, these 72,000 nadis, they stem out of the 3 main ones that we know, that I just mentioned. Say it after me: Ida, Pingala, Sushumna. So you'll be able to remember them, right? It's a little bit important, right? You see, again, earlier today I was mentioning that we need to be able to understand how this body works. We need to be able to understand who we are and all of these different things. We cannot live our entire lives and we're just living aimlessly, right? You get up in the morning and you eat some roti and bhaji and you go to work and you come back and you go with our routine every day. No. We are here for something much more greater. We are here for a greater purpose. You need to realize who you are, realize what that purpose is. And by understanding these things, that's why I love to give information. By understanding these things, it will help to take you to new levels. Right? Because awareness is what is going to take you forward, right? So when you increase your awareness. So these three main ones, right? It is said within the spine, if you understand the physical construction of how the spine is constructed, there are two holes on either side, right? Which is like what we like to call as like conduit pipes. You know what that is? Pipes. You just picture those pipes in them, right? That is on either side basically, right? For all the nerves and stuff to channel themselves and for them to pass, right? These two that are on the left and the right, respectively, are the Ida and the Pingala, right? Very important for us to understand. The Ida and the Pingala represent, I'm giving you these philosophical terms and then I'll break it down for you, right? The basic duality in existence, personified as Shiva and Shakti, or the masculine and feminine energies, or the logical and intuitive aspect of yourself. Let me break it down for you. Within each and every one of us, we have two energies. There's the masculine energy and there's the feminine energy. There is the Ida and there's the Pingala. There's the Shiva and there's the Shakti. You can call it by whatever you want, right? Any one of those names. It's fine. There's the logic and there's the intuition. Right? Within all of us. The thing about it is that when we speak about masculine and feminine, people think that we are referring in terms of gender. It's definitely not that, right? We are actually referring in terms of certain qualities in nature. There are certain things, certain traits and certain qualities that are identified as feminine and certain traits that are identified as masculine. You all understand that, right? So, it is said here that you may be a man, but if your Ida is more pronounced, then the feminine energy will be more predominant in you. This will help you to understand a lot of different things that is going on in life that you don't understand. This will make things a little bit clearer for you. Right? It is said you may be a man, but if that Ida is more pronounced, then the feminine energy is going to be more dominant in you. Right? You may be a woman, but if your Pingala is more pronounced, then the masculine energy will be more dominant. Kya baat hai? The goal here is to bring a balance between the Ida and the Pingala. Sushumna, kya baat hai? Right? So it is said that most people live their entire lives, right? And they die remaining in Ida and Pingala. Ida and Pingala. I don't know, I'm not sure. Either here or there, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm moving forward. I'm confused. I'm not aware. That's why I told you, don't be aimless. Don't be unaware. You need to be aware. That's why you're getting the information. Be aware, right? Know who you are. So, you don't want to live and die fighting between these two energies and you never figure out, you never find that balance, within, right? So this Sushumna is central in between the Ida and the Pingala, right? It is central. And it remains dormant in these people that are always confused. It remains dormant, right? Once there's a fight between both energies, it will remain dormant. No moving at all. But this Sushumna, this is not just spirituality, and this is science. So you need to understand this. This Sushumna is the most significant aspect of human physiology. Only when energies enter, this is also tested and proven by you. Only when energies enter into the Sushumna, or the middle, the center, that is when life really begins. Why? Because fundamentally, the Sushumna, it is attributeless. Let's break it down. It has no quality of its own. It's like empty space, right? If there is empty space somewhere, you can create anything you want. Creation can take place. For example, if you have a cup, and in that cup is filled. So you have tea in the cup, for example. And you put anything else inside it? Anything else that you add is filled to the brim. Anything else that you add, it is going to overflow. But if that cup is empty, you can put many things inside of that and make a mixture also. So, here, when you reach into that state of that Sushumna, it's like an empty space where creation can take place, right? Once energies enter into there, we say that you attain, and we're going to refer to Lord Shiva now. We say that you attain something that is called as Vairagya. Lord Shiva was a Vairagi. Vairagya, raga in this context here, it means color. Right? Vairag means no color. And when I say color, we are not talking about color like white and blue and pink and not like that. Eh? We are referring to color here in the form of, when we say no color, it means dispassion, it means detachment. It means despite the fact that you exist upon the face of the earth and you are in a human form, despite the fact that you have the physical experiences in this world and you're connected to the Maya and all of that, you still live separately. You still understand that here's what, all of this that we see and we know and we understand, this is an illusion and this is temporary. This is just going to last for a period of time. Each and every one of us have to leave this and go one day. So you'll make the most of it. So when you start reaching this center, you understand that. You understand that here's what, I should be making the most of my life every single day. I shouldn't be trying to figure out this and that and the next. Just channel the energy, let it flow. Let that energy flow through me. Just allow it to flow freely. In this world, it is said that we are supposed to live in flow. What does that mean? Sometimes your mind will open you up to certain experiences in this world, and sometimes we shut it off. When you are a child and you're very young, what happens? When you are young, you have a great imagination. You think about all sorts of things. We take anything and we make a toy out of it. Isn't that correct? They say yeah, right? So I started to check them for confirmation now. Little boys, Lakshman and Ishwar. So they say that you take anything and you make a toy out of it. You take anything and you make a game out of it. But when you start getting older, in this world, people start telling us things like, what you doing? And what you thinking? Are you behaving like a child so? You ever hear me saying once a man, twice a child? It is said the goal is to remain in a childlike state. Now there's a difference with childlike and childish. Eh? So you need to get that clear, right? You don't want to be childish, right? You want to be childlike. When I say childlike, I mean you want to remain in that playful, loving, joyful manner, filled with excitement and enthusiasm. You want to be in that state where you have this imagination that is wild and beyond, and you can dream big, and nobody can stop you from doing that, and nobody can put an end to that. That is what you want to be like. Those children, you can't stop them from imagining. Can you stop them? Of course not. But when we grow older in society, we meet people that have a lot of fears and insecurity and doubt, and they take all of that and they throw it on top of us. And then we start becoming like that also. And we lose our beautiful nature. So, when you enter into that state, that Sushumna, right, you become like a Vairagi, right? You start practicing Vairagya. You start going flow in this life. You start experience life, enjoy life. You do what you have to. No fighting, no quarreling, no judgment, and all of these different kind of things, right? You find balance, you find peace, harmony, right? Let's talk about the lotus flower. She holds the lotus flower in her other hand. So she has the trident and she has the lotus flower. The lotus flower represents something very, very important. The lotus flower tells us something. Where does the lotus flower grow? The lotus flower grows in a pond, a swamp. Very good. It grows in murky waters. That's the point I'm coming to. It does not grow in crystal clear water. It does not grow in pretty waters. But when a lotus rises and comes to the top of the water, how does it look? Is it white and pretty? It looks beautiful, but they are different color lotuses, right? It looks very, very beautiful. The lotus teaches us in life, my dear friends, that we must rise above the negativity, and despite the fact of where you come from, despite the fact of who or what is in your environment, you must never ever allow it to determine who you become in life. Always be better. Always rise up above and blossom in this world. Spread love and spread kindness. Spread joy. It is said when you let people enter your life and put their doubt and their fear and their insecurities and put negative things into your life, into your mind and hearts, it's like you becoming a garbage can. And you're allowing them to dump their garbage inside of you. Do you want to be like that? He said no. You don't want to be like that, right? That is very, very important. So don't allow the things that people tell us from the outside to get on the inside of us. Let it stay on the outside. It's a very difficult thing to do, eh? It's a very difficult thing to do, but we have to try it to the best of our ability. So praying to Shailaputri Devi brings great strength, it brings commitment, right? When the mind is wavering, chanting the name of this Devi, it helps the mind to become centered and committed, right? So you find balance. It gives us strength, courage, and composure. What is the mantra? Repeat after me. Om Devi Shailaputriya Namaha. Alright, good. That's your mantra for today. We join a beautiful bhajan and then we continue. Oh, sorry. The second form is Brahmacharini Devi. And Brahmacharini refers to that consciousness that is all pervading. It comes from the root word, well, one of the root words there is Brahma. Brahma translates to mean austerities, tapasya, penance. In this form, the Divine Mother holds a japa mala in her right hand and a kamandalu, a water pot, in her left hand, both symbolizing concentration and focus. You want concentration and focus in your life? you worship that divine mother in the form of Brahmacharani Devi. It is said that when Parvati Devi performed tapasya to attain Lord Shiva as a consort, as I was saying just now, she was referred to as Brahmacharani Devi. That's where she got this name from. When she was doing the austerities, she lived on flowers and fruits and eventually leaves. And then, at one point, she even gave up that and she lived on air alone. Kya baat hai? And at that point in time, Brahmacharani Devi was given the name Aparna, that one who is leafless, that one who lived even without leaves itself. Divine goddess, Brahmacharani Devi, it is said, if you want to obtain liberation, as a sadhak, a spiritual seeker, you worship the Divine Mother in the form of Brahmacharani Devi. She will grant to you what is known as Brahma Gyan, the knowledge of Brahman. Here's a funny thing, right? The knowledge I said of, not Brahmaya, Brahman. If I ask you a question, who is the supreme god in Hinduism? How would you respond to me? If I ask you, who is the supreme god in Hinduism? How would you respond to me? Jennifer, who is the supreme god in Hinduism? I can't ask you, you know that. Who do you think is the supreme god? She says Lord Vishnu. Demo waving. That is the matter for everything. He knows. Demo says Brahman. Not Brahmaya, Brahman. It is said that the absolute, all-pervading reality, the super soul, the Paramatma, the supreme God, is referred to in Hinduism as Brahman. If you didn't know that before, you know that now. From Brahman, that absolute effulgence is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and many other places. Everything else in this world comes into existence. So here, when you worship that divine Devi form Brahmacharani Devi, you get Brahma Jnana, which is knowledge of Brahman. Therefore, the name is Brahmacharani Devi. And her work is to give knowledge of the supreme, absolute effulgence to her devotees. When we think about Brahmacharani, we also think about the word Brahmacharya. What does Brahmacharya mean? It means not indulging in small things, not getting stuck in small limited things, but indulging in the whole. It is said that celibacy, well, Brahmacharya tends to refer to celibacy, right? Most people think that's what it means alone, right? It's kind of synonymous because you are dealing with the whole rather than dealing with limited parts. What do I mean by that? When people are in intense periods of devotion, they tend to practice celibacy. You want to know why? When you do that, you reserve your energy. That's it right there. When you do that, you reserve your energy. When you're not celibate, you are sharing your energy. You are mixing energies. You are mixing vibrations. Right? That's a general thing, or general piece of knowledge for you. So, Brahmacharya is that state of being celibate. Because here, you are with the greater whole. You are complete. You are full. You are not limited or in parts, right? Lust is always in parts. Therefore, that divine goddess, Brahmacharini Devi, is an all-pervading consciousness. So, the mantra for Brahmacharini Devi is Om, repeat after me, Om Devi Brahma Charanyai Namaha. So that's Brahmacharini Devi, number 2. So number 3 is Chandraganta Devi. So if you notice, the bhajan that she's saying is actually combining names of all of these devis that I'm talking about, right? So number 3, the third form is Chandraganta Devi. This one she has a half moon shape like a bell. This represents balance. It represents harmonious vibration. She provides you and she bestows upon you a couple of things. One which is Param Shanti. Param Shanti means ultimate peace, the highest peace that you can receive in life. And Kalyan Kali. She bestows upon you supreme welfare. Her form is like gold and her vehicle is a lion. She has 10 hands and holds various weapons such as the Khadga, sword of wisdom, Bad, sharp arrows, the Trishul, the trident, and Padma, which is the lotus of peace. It is said, by worshipping her, the seeker will receive the removal of all confusion in life and the removal of all obstacles. Chandraganta Devi is the goddess of the delight of practice. Her mantra is, repeat after me, Om. I'm not hearing you all. Om. There are a lot of you here. I must hear you all. Let's say it again. Om. Devi. Chandra. Gantye. Namaha. That's Devi Chandraganta. This time is flying so fast, I'm trying to give you this information. You see some things you just can't condense, you can't just numb it down, right? But I want to complete, so let's see how quickly we can go through this. So the fourth form of the Devi, so the third one was Chandraganta Devi, right? Om Devi Chandragantyai Namaha. Number 4, Kushmanda Devi. Kushmanda Mata, right? It is said that Kushmanda Devi is that divine from which the universe manifested itself. Right? She herself represents the core of the sun and the sun's energy. Right? Ku means here little, Ushma means warmth. So like little warmth, a little cosmic energy. That's what it refers to basically, right? Kushmanda. It is said at the beginning of time when there was no creation or all that, there was darkness everywhere. Kushmanda Devi gave the energy to bring into manifestation this entire creation that we now know and we now understand. She resides in the realm of Surya Loka. Hence, she is the core of the sun itself. The energy that is present in all of this entire creation is Kushmanda Devi. Right? This form of the mother has 8 hands. And therefore, she's often referred